is Thursday, April 19th, 2018, and today is Earth Day. And we're welcoming Lynn Keefe, our Director of General Services, and you have brought with you two guests to talk about Earth Day.
Yes, pleased to be here. So partnering with, we have our Resident General Services Committee, and one of those subcommittees is our Environmental Committee. So I'm pleased to have Dan Ancona and Norma Hughes with us today.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And we have lots of Earth Day activities going on today.
We do, we do.
And Lynn, I think you're going to start out with some information.
I am. So, in honor of Earth Day, we thought it appropriate to talk a little bit about what are we doing as a community? What have we been doing to minimize our impact on the greater world?
Our carbon footprint.
Our carbon footprint, yes. Absolutely. So, there are a number of things that some are behind the scenes and folks may not be aware of. Some we've talked about and are a little more visible. So, some of our energy reduction strategies, campus-wide, we're moving towards LED light bulbs. So we did a lighting study a couple of years ago, and that is an enterprise-wide initiative for Erickson communities. We have done the outside lamp posts, working in the parking decks. It is a part of every reoccupancy. All of the hallway life cycles moving to LED.
So as light bulbs are replaced, they're being replaced with LED
That is correct.
bulbs.
That is
and
correct.
they last how much longer than
Oh my
an
goodness.
incandescent bulb?
I'm going to look to Dan because I know he probably knows that off the top of his head.
A lot longer.
A lot longer.
A whole lot longer.
A whole lot longer. And while there's a slight cost difference, it's far outweighed by.
And today's LED light bulbs don't cost nearly as much as they did when they were first introduced.
That's correct. And part of the reason we look at the campus-wide initiative, and we also leverage the enterprise for our buying impact. So we look at that. We purchase through preferred contracts so that we benefit from that pricing.
That bulk buying.
That bulk buying, good. Absolutely. In the past we've talked about the benefit of, or the silver lining, if you will, of some of the sprinkler breaks we've had with the additional insulation.
Yes.
Certainly the window replacement. Those who have already had those on those ultra cold days notice that they're not having that air infiltration.
Right.
So those are some great things. But we also have a preventive maintenance program, and that's really for our existing equipment to make sure that we're maintaining it, that it's running efficiently, and that we're looking at the useful life of our assets and taking good care. That program was automated a couple of years ago, so it really keeps it very visible, not a paper process anymore.
And this is truly something that's behind the scenes that we would have no way of knowing about.
It is, but I would think that especially for those folks who have engineering background or are really conscious about that, would expect that we're doing that. So,
but maintaining our equipment makes it last longer.
Absolutely. Also, motion detector switches. We have those in offices and back of the house. There have been proposals about, where can we expand that? Sometimes there are, safety concerns. You want to make sure that it's in an area where if people are, that it stays on. But those things also make a difference for us. Energy Star rated.
That means and I've had that happen where you're sitting quietly in a room and the light goes out, and that's because there's a motion detector
Correct.
switch that after a certain period of time the light goes out, thus saving money.
Yes, but
Excellent.
we want to make sure it doesn't impact safety so that if you're in the dark you can't get to
right.
Energy rated appliances, and those are done on replacement. We continue to look at that. And then, campus-wide, we've talked about our life cycle replacement of what we call FMCS. It's our building control system, so that lights can be a part of the system so that overall you can look at timing, and that's still in the process of being upgraded. We'll be integrating the new space at Garden Ridge.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So building controls,
You lost me.
so if we have lights in the hallway that are tied to that, at a certain time, say maybe 11 p.m., maybe they'll dim a little bit. They don't need to be as bright. Outside lights, there are some that must stay on. There are others that can be dimmed or turned off.
I noticed in our hallway there's a certain time where the lights over the doorways go out.
That's correct. And all of these things are tied to building automation. And so those systems also allow us to look at reports. We also work with the utilities, and we're looking at where can we add metering of a per building so that we can look at efficiencies. And that's something that our senior facilities manager continues to work on. So some of these are over time. We're always ensuring that as things are replaced, boilers, that we're going to more efficient. We also have a few other programs that probably are a little more familiar to folks, and composting is something that dining is taking a look at. It's much more common. We hear about folks doing that in their personal homes.
Sure.
Certainly we generate a good amount of that. So that's something that they are actively exploring, and I think hope to roll out very soon. As a community, we've been recycling for a long time. We're the only community in the enterprise that does trash and recycling pickup 5 days a week. But and I think folks will find that they probably have more in their recycling than they do in their trash. And the committee, Dan and Norma, will talk about that in more detail. But last year, we recycled 332 ton.
Wow.
So it's helpful to look at that over time so we can see, are we doing more, are we doing less?
It's almost 40% of our trash
That's amazing.
is recycled, which is, that's a real,
Do we have a
that's a winner.
separate service that picks up our recycling, or is it the same service in 2 different trucks?
They have different trucks,
Right.
and they have the ability to weigh that and give us that data so that we can take a look at that and incorporate that. Dining also does the biodiesel from their waste kitchen oils is something that they accumulate, sell back. You know, that's not a huge revenue generator, but it is a great recycling. Little things like the auto paper towel dispensers. You know, I think there are probably
So people aren't just going like this.
right,
with the paper
probably
towels.
parents that wish they had those in their homes.
Yes.
But you know, that's something that that has been here a practice for a time. Water reducing showers and faucets and low flow toilets, things like that. So many of those have been in place for a while, but we're always looking to make sure that it's the most efficient. We have recently rolled out a fleet management program, again looking at the preventive maintenance piece, the overall analysis
The
of
fleet management having to do with our shuttle buses.
our buses, our sedans, vans, and even our carts to make sure that we're optimizing and getting the most life out of that. And then, you know, some of the things that we're looking at in the future, we have a model for an electric vehicle charging station. So even right now, if somebody were to say, I would like to purchase an electric vehicle, how are you going to handle that? We will work with them to establish a station. We're also looking at common area stations. Where could we
So we know it's
put
coming.
that? Yes, because we know they're out there.
Yes.
So something that we're always doing.
We're planning ahead for that.
We are.
So we have a lot going on.
And a lot more to be shared by the committee. You know, we work hand in glove. Our priorities are their priorities, just like all of the committees do. So our General Services Committee, this particular committee is focused on a number of things for the environment of the community, but in particular is how do we reduce that? How do we educate folks about what's out there and what's available? Maybe a little different than what they had in their own home, and where do we have some opportunity?
The one thing that I would say is that, you know, we talk about saving light by, you know, in various ways by dimming, but the one thing that I would want to say to residents, and I don't think that anyone would disagree with me, is that doesn't mean that in our apartments we should turn down the lights. That we should have enough light turned on in our apartments that we can see to walk safely, because a lot of people think, oh, I'll turn off the lights and I'll save power in my apartment, and that's when falls happen.
Right. And I would say where we leverage that as a community, our senior facility manager in some of the metering and some of the programs with the utility look at where can we optimize, where do we have opportunity? Are we turning everything on during peak run? And so those are some of the behind the scenes that help so that you don't have to worry about, I'm going to turn my light off and then I may not have safe egress within my apartment.
Right.
We certainly aren't advocating for that.
It's important to stay safe in our apartment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Good. Lots going on.
Yes, and I hope that folks will come out. If you're watching this live at 11:30 today, we have tree planting. Now, I know it's a little rainy out there, but I like to think of that as that's just soil preparation that's going on.
And that's going to be, tree planting, that's at
11:30.
11:30. I'm here on tree planting ceremony.
Yes.
11:30 in front of Village Square.
In front of Village
To
Square.
commemorate Greenspring's 20th anniversary.
Yes, we're starting early in the year with that.
That's good.
Yes, so come on out, bring an umbrella if it is still raining.
That's good.
That's right.
Okay. Lynn, I understand that you need to leave.
But you are going to
On
be
your way
left
to a
in
busy
very
day.
capable hands. I know they have a great deal of information to share. So
That's good. And we'll be talking about some other things going on for Earth Day today. Thank you so much for coming.
thank you so much for
Enjoy
having
the
me.
rest of your Earth Day.
Thank
So
you.
It's about recycling.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm turning it over to you.
All right. But backing up just a little bit, we're a subcommittee under the General Services Committee that the council appoints every year. There's 4 of us on the committee, Norma, 2 of our other members, Dave Kaiser and John Krajewski, are busy today and couldn't be here with us. Otherwise, they would have been here too.
In June.
And June Franco also
Okay.
is tied up today. So we're a small committee on the larger General Services Committee. But our goal is to focus on environmental issues that you talked earlier about, the carbon footprint, that's part of it, but conservation of water, electricity, and the supplies that we use here on the campus. Anything we can do to improve the environment is really what our
That's your goal.
mission is all about. Now, we set up a bunch of different programs each year, and we've talked about several of them. The idea of having lights that turn off and on when people are not occupying a room, things like that. We've done a lot of initiatives. We kind of explore things and then hand them over to Lynn to implement it in the General Services.
Like any of our resident committees, we could suggest.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly right, yeah. Recycling is one of the main ones that we've been pushing. And I'm going to talk about 2 other ones in a minute, but Norma has really been tracking this recycling stuff, and she worked at the Environmental Protection Agency for
an
a bunch
expert.
of years. One of the founding employees, one of the original employees.
Right.
She
In
had-
1970.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that, Norma.
I was there for 30 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you're an expert. That's great.
Oh, yeah, right.
So talk to us about what you've done with recycling at Greenspring.
Well, we have this flyer.
I
that
have
we've
it hanging on
prepared,
my refrigerator.
right, to tell everybody what is recyclable and what is not. On the back, we have materials that are accepted for recycling, and then materials that are not acceptable for recycling. One of the major problems that we have here among our residents is that they seem to feel that it's okay to recycle or to throw in the styrofoam cups from the coffee centers. The styrofoam cups are not recyclable, should not be thrown into the recycle bins that are outside the mailboxes and the cubbies that we have for people to throw away there or to recycle advertisements and so on that they find in their mailboxes that they don't want to take home with them.
And we're trying to get dining
We're
services
trying to
rid of
get,
it.
yes.
So Dining Services is researching, finding a cup that is recyclable to use
Right.
in that area.
Recyclable or compostable.
Okay.
Right. Another item in that regard are straws. And the plastic straws are getting to be a big no-no. As a matter of fact, there is a study that has been done. 500 million straws are used and discarded every day in the U.S. alone. That's 175 billion a year filtering into landfills and littering our waterways and oceans. And I hope you people realize that these plastic items end up in the streams and end up in the oceans and so on.
I'm trying to think of the last time I even saw a paper straw, so that
That's right.
could be part of the challenge for our dining services folks to even find one to buy to put in our...
Exactly so.
They're available.
Yeah.
U.S. consumption is enough straws to wrap around the Earth's circumference 205 times a day.
Well, I know that our dining services team is really dedicated to recycling, so I'm sure this is something that they will be looking at.
They are. And whether or not people realize that these takeout items from the dining services, the takeout
And the way that I know that it's recyclable,
is there is a nice little
Triangle,
logo
yeah.
and a
the
triangle
triangle with the number 5 on it.
that indicates that this is recyclable. So just rinse it out and put it in the recycle bin.
1 through 5 are recyclable.
1 through 5,
Right.
recyclable.
We
And
have a bunch of batteries, and people have said, well, we don't know that, where can you dispose or take the batteries, the used batteries? All types of batteries are recyclable, can be taken to the front desk of each of our 3 communities. And the front desk has a specific box in which they will put your disposable put your used batteries, and then they are picked up by General Services.
Yeah, we actually make money.
oh, do we make money from
yeah.
you? Oh, that's even better.
They get the metals out of them
Right.
and things like that.
So it's a source of income.
But not the blue bucket. Don't put it in the blue
Don't,
bucket.
not into the blue bucket. They have to go down to the front desk.
And I do exactly this. I just keep a little bag and every once in a while remember to take it down.
Yeah.
All your used batteries, the
Hearing
aids, from flashlights, from whatever. Anyway, and
That's good.
this is
Yeah.
a no-no, not to put into the recycle bin or into the trash.
Now this being a CFL bulb,
CFL,
a specific
CFL.
kind of light bulb.
Right. You can take this to the front desk if you have to be disposed of, and they will handle it, and will end up with General Services will take care of it. So, and your plastic bottles, they're recyclable
Yeah.
if there's the appropriate number on the bottom of it.
And this one we looked at a little bit ago, it has a number 1 on the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're okay.
So that's it.
Now, one thing that is not normally recyclable, but they will take today, is an old cell phone.
That's right.
So I
Yes.
had one I've been trying to remember to get rid of for a long time. I brought
Very
it
good.
along.
Very good.
Yeah,
So,
for computer stuff, you really want to try and be sure that you destroy any data that's on there so that people can't copy it.
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, remember to recycle in your blue buckets, and the other recyclable items that do not go in the blue bucket are batteries, CFL light bulbs, and styrofoam containers.
Yep.
Excellent.
Very good. 2 other areas. We got 7 things that we're focusing on. I'm not going to go through all of them.
Okay,
but
we
2
have about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, okay. Let me touch quickly on 2 other items. One of them was our committee noticed after the last snowstorm that we had a lot of salt
Yes.
left over after
Yes.
the thing. And so we're working with General Services to kind of come up with a strategy to minimize the amount of salt that's used. And in the process, we found that there's a Department of Environmental Quality program here, an initiative that the state has been organizing, looking at the salt contamination in the Accotink watershed. It's a central part of the county here, and they actually ran some tests on the stream down there and found that the chloride levels, which is the bad part of the salt, it's not sodium chloride anymore, it's different chloride combinations. A lot of it's proprietary stuff, they won't tell you what it is, but the chloride levels in the streams were 10 times the amount that is normal, accepted for human.
So that's
It's
water
a-
that's having to be cleaned up by Fairfax County before it comes back to us to drink?
It ends up down in the stream, and part of it comes from roads, but part of it comes from communities and businesses like Greenspring. And so it really behooves us to try and cut back as much as possible to try and reduce that salt contamination. You're going to hear more about this. They just had their first meeting on that group, and it's going to be a big deal. It's a serious environmental issue. Yeah.
So Greenspring is working on attempting to, for next year,
Right.
our next winter.
Yeah. Hopefully we won't get any
season.
more snow.
Right.
Right.
We're working to reduce the amount of salt that is displaced.
Right. Enough for
Within the
safety. I
community.
mean, we need it for safety reasons, but it also is a mess because it tracks in and the cleanup
Oh,
crews.
sure.
It's a big challenge for them. Second thing I want to mention is solar. Yeah, we have Fairfax County has a solarization program right now that they're encouraging people to go to. It's very important because it reduces the amount of atmospheric emissions from power generation, and it's just not for us, but for our kids and their kids in the
Sure.
future. It's really important to cut down on fossil fuel burning. We've looked at two different things. We actually proposed to General Services, actually to Erickson, that they look at pool water heating for the new pool. Put up
Solar water.
solar
for the
thermal
solar
systems
panels.
on the roof to capture solar energy and use that for heating the water in the
Interesting.
pool. That's still being discussed. We may be too late on that one. It was already fairly far down the road before, we got a burr under our saddle. But the second thing I want to mention is we're also looking at putting what they call solar parking lot canopies up.
I have seen that used.
Yep, it's a very popular thing.
Yes.
It's being used in a lot of areas. It generates electricity. Also, a lot of times they'll put electric vehicle drops there so that you can generate electricity from the sun and charge electric vehicles. Yeah, so
That could solve the problem Lynn was talking about.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So that's we're working now to work out some details on that. It's a good idea, and the other thing about it is it provides shaded parking.
That's true.
That's
Dan, they're telling us we have 1 minute.
okay.
Do we have one last thing we'd like to pass on other than please join us for all of today's activities?
I think that would be the main thing, and really think about reducing the amount of stuff that you use and recycle as much as you can.
That's good.
Right.
Norma, anything you'd like to add?
I would say recycle, folks.
Okay, we're doing it. Thanks for all the good reminders. And